WCBI News at 6 starts now.
Good evening, everyone. Bond is set for a Clay County man accused of touching a child. 18-year-old Calvin James Perkins is charged with attempted sexual battery and touching a child for lustful purposes. Investigators combed the county looking for Perkins on Thursday. This afternoon, his bond was set at $100,000. Clay County Sheriff Eddie Scott says the victim was taken to Batson Children's Hospital in Jackson and is in good condition.
Sheriff's Office received a call in the early morning hours of Thursday about the incident. Investigators arrived. Mr. Perkins had fled the scene. At this time, we discovered that our victim was going to be under the age of 12. Mr. Perkins was taken into custody late yesterday afternoon.
It's been nearly 6 months since anyone has seen or heard from 41-year-old Desiree Eves. Winston County Sheriff Jason Pugh says she was last seen at a home on Highway 15 near the Neshoba County line. Witnesses in the area admit to seeing her. However, what happened next is still a mystery. If you know where she is tonight, call the Winston County Sheriff's Office. Finding a missing person like Eves can be difficult for law enforcement. Many times they think they have to think outside the box and rely on outside agencies to help. Our Quentin Smith talks with the man leading that search about the resources available in a missing persons case. He joins us live in the studio. Quentin?
Yeah, Joey, when a person goes missing, time is of the essence. Investigators say the first 3 hours are the most critical because that's when they'll know which resources and departments to bring in. And the quicker they bring in those resources, the higher likelihood of a better outcome.
Well, it has been nearly 2 months since an Alabama man first went missing.
It's something we've reported on numerous times.
Police are asking for help finding a missing Columbus man.
People reported missing.
First of all, we want to make sure we can find the person as quickly as possible and that the person is obviously healthy. A lot of things play in depending on what kind of missing persons call we get.
Winston County Sheriff Jason Pugh says his department typically receives child, elderly, or criminal missing persons reports. All three present different challenges.
In each case, you have to go a different direction. Obviously, if you have a missing child, that child is not probably going to have a cell phone that you can use to try to find that person. A lot of times an older person won't have something like it, so we really have to utilize all the resources at our disposal.
Those resources include social media, Amber and Silver alerts, as well as calling in other law enforcement agencies from neighboring cities and counties.
We've used the Mississippi Crime Lab and their mobile unit in situations before to help them, to get help from them to see if there's anything we might be missing. Like I say, different search and rescue operations around the state. We've gone as far as Memphis before in years past to get some resources in for search and rescue.
Investigators also rely heavily on fire departments and search dogs. Pugh says it only takes a few hours of being on scene to know who and what help they need.
The longer they're missing, the harder it is to find them.
If his deputies can't find the person, Pugh will bring in investigators from the Highway Patrol to come in and retrace all of their steps and find another possible solution.
In a situation where we have a person that's been missing for several months, we really want to go back over everything, see what could have happened that we might have missed, and try any avenues that we haven't tried that we might have overlooked.
Now, Sheriff Pugh says they also rely on media outlets as a resource to help them find a missing person. And of course, if you have any information on a person that's missing, you're asked to contact law enforcement. Joey?
All right, thanks a lot, Quentin. Time now to turn things over to meteorologist Kendall Smith. She has a first look at our forecast.
Well, it has been another gloomy and wet day. This is taking a live look in downtown Tupelo on our Alpha Insurance Sky Cam, where we're currently seeing some raindrops on our Sky Cam, and that is because we are still seeing shower activity across our area. But the good news is that shower activity is starting to lift to our northeast at this time, and the good thing is the rain has helped to cool our temperatures off to the mid-60s, so mid-60s for most of our area, mid-60s. And then to this weekend, more unsettled weather is coming up, but drier next week.
In Mississippi, no one is a stranger in the wake of tragedy. Neighbors help neighbors. Volunteers from around the U.S. and across the state donate their time helping others rebuild. Our Scott Martin speaks with a man behind organizing volunteers in part 3 of our series, Disaster Decisions. Scott?
Yeah, Joey, these volunteers, they're the hands that are behind rebuilding homes, communities, and helping restore people's livelihood. Volunteers, they help lift the burden of those who've lost so much.
It's the Mississippi Standard. When tragedy strikes, people unite.
Mississippi is known for neighbor helping neighbor.
Hubert Yates is a part of Mississippi VOAD and assists in organizing volunteer efforts. He says volunteers are critical when it comes to rebuilding.
That's where the recovery takes place, is the volunteers from the local community joined with others coming to help their neighbor, making an impact on the community so that the most vulnerable are not left behind.
While we depend on volunteers, the number of weather events across the state and the U.S. puts a bit of a kink in the efforts to normalize lives that have been battered.
The sheer number of events that we're experiencing right now. We had 2 major hurricanes last year that hit on the Florida coast and then also on the North Carolina coast. Just in Mississippi alone, since the first of the year, we've been working with 3 different floods and now tornado outbreaks that have us leading the nation with almost twice the number of tornadoes as we yearly average.
But volunteers still show up. A number of organizations from the state and the nation came to Columbus after the February tornado. Winston County EMA Director Buddy King says federal government help is becoming more selective and must meet certain requirements. That's why volunteers can help out in ways the government can't. For example, the government can't go on private property.
The local volunteer agencies, they have the ability to go on private property and help people with their needs there. People that may be insured, which really takes them out of the loop for any FEMA funding or MEMA funding when they have insurance. But they can still go in and supplement these private citizens' costs through voluntary contributions of their time and efforts.
And if documented, the volunteer time is reimbursed by FEMA to the county.
FEMA will reimburse that volunteer time that was contributed to the county in the form of cash, which is exactly what a local government agency needs during a time of disaster.
So many of us thankful for all those volunteers. Now this wraps up our series on disaster decisions. If you missed one of our segments or you just want to catch it again, visit WCBI.com. Joey.
You brought us a lot of good information this week, Scott. All right, absentee voting is underway for 2 Starkville elections. May 30th, people who live in the city will vote on a 1% hotel and restaurant tax. If approved, the tax will fund a new sports complex. Plans include tournament quality fields for softball and baseball, new soccer fields, and improvements to city parks. Supporters estimate adding the extra 1% will bring in around $1 million a year. The measure must be approved by 60% of the people who vote on May 30th. Residents in Ward 5 will also choose a new alderman during the special election. The Lowndes County Circuit Clerk's Office announces 4 voter precinct changes. Circuit Clerk Teresa Barksdale says her office has also mailed out over 9,000 new voter registration cards. However, they've received about 1,500 of those back. Barksdale wants everyone to make sure your address is up to date in her office and that you get your card before the August primary.
The university precinct is still the university precinct, but they will be voting at the Boy Scout building, like I said, which is in the Farmers Market parking lot. Hunt and Probst Park precinct is now voting at the Stephen Chapel Church Fellowship Hall. The National Guard precinct is voting now at Southside Missionary Baptist Church, and Union Academy precinct is now voting at the 15th Street Church of God, which is just right across the street.
The last day to register to vote before the primary elections is July 8th. When we come back, friends and colleagues remember a legendary Lowndes County lawman. Welcome back. Longtime Lowndes County Constable Willie Hoot West passed away yesterday. Earlier this week, he was injured in a single car wreck. People across Lowndes County are remembering him today. Our Riley Livingston joins us in the studio with more on Mr. Hoot.
Joey, in Caledonia, everyone has a story about Hoot West. He touched many lives in his time as constable and shaped many more.
Lowndes County icon. Everybody knows Hoot.
For 52 years, Willie Hoot West served as District 1 Constable in Lowndes County. During that time, he made a name for himself.
If you'd had the chance to meet him and get to know him, you would kind of got a glimpse of what, you know, an old-time law enforcement officer, if you could picture one in your mind of, you know, an old sheriff or an old marshal or something like that, he just kind of epitomized that.
When Chief Deputy Greg Wright joined the Lowndes County Sheriff's Department, West had been a constable for years.
He was like all of us. He was younger, and he was out, you know, helping us with calls and stuff, and I'd met him on several occasions and just gotten to know him and talked to him. He was a very down-to-earth guy. One thing I really liked about Mr. West was the fact that he was honest. He spoke his mind, and I appreciated that.
In Caledonia, he is already missed. This chair at Cal City General Store is vacant. West came in almost every day to order a double ribeye with jalapenos.
I loved cooking his food, knew how he wanted it cooked every time he came in, and he'd just come in that door right there and sit down and let me know he's back there, and I get it ready.
Rita Lewis says he would always find a way to make her and others laugh. In fact, he was here just a few days ago.
He actually sat here a little while longer that day, you know, just conversating with the other customers in here. I really didn't get a chance to talk to him that day because I was so busy, you know, but he was sitting here, you know, talking to all the customers, so. But he stayed here a little while.
She says West was always looking to help her and the community.
He talked to me a lot, you know, younger people he would talk to and encourage. I mean, he was really a good man.
If you ever needed him, he was there. He was there.
West was 81 years old and had planned to retire this year. Visitation will be Saturday from 5 to 8 at Lowndes Funeral Home. His funeral service will be Sunday at 3.
Well, another gloomy and wet evening is in store for us with temperatures in the upper 60s, and more rain, unfortunately, is on its way. More on those details coming up next.
Your first alert AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Kendall Smith.
Well, the good news is it's officially Mother's Day, but we do have more rain in store for us. Unfortunately, we'll be wet for your Saturday as well as your Sunday, but hopefully that rain should taper off in the afternoon on Sunday. However, most of our area is included in a flash flood watch until Sunday afternoon for most of our region, and that's because we could see anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of additional rain on top of already saturated soil, which is just rainfall we don't need. So this is looking at our current situation. We still have some showers out in our area, but those are starting to lift to our northeast at this time, and we are seeing that stationary front that's just situated over our area. This is going to hang out with us for a few days. We see our next round of rain down to our south at this time, and then our next batch following that is currently in Texas. So we don't see a whole lot right now, but that might start to bubble up, and this will be our rainmaker for Saturday morning. So where that stationary front is situated is helping to cool off our temperatures. So we're currently 68 in Columbus, and then right ahead of that front, much warmer. So 81 in Atlanta, but back behind that front, it is in the 50s. So much cooler temperatures due to this front. So for this evening, temperatures will drop down into the mid-60s, mostly cloudy conditions. We're going to keep a 30% chance for a stray shower or two possible. Winds will be light and variable, 2 to 6 miles an hour. And then for tomorrow, we are going to make it back into those mid-70s, keeping those rain chances around for most of your day, unfortunately. But, you know, across the board, we're going to make it into those mid-70s. So 74 in Houston, 76 in Aberdeen, slightly warmer to our south. We're looking at 78 in Philadelphia, 77 in Carthage, and then much of the same for West Alabama. We're looking at 77 in Reform and 77 in Aliceville. So much cooler than we have been, but those rain chances, delving deeper into those, keeping those rain chances around for your evening. They will start to dry out by the overnight hours right ahead of our next system that will push through on Saturday morning, and then by the lunchtime we look to have mostly widespread showers and thunderstorms. Those will start to push out by Saturday evening, and then on Saturday morning we could see some storms pop up again, and then starts to dry out hopefully by Sunday evening, and then we will be dry hopefully by Monday as well. So the good news is we do have drier conditions in store for us. So wet for Saturday and Sunday. We will start to dry off for your Monday and Tuesday, bringing those rain chances back in. And then We will have another chance of rain in the middle of next week. More in sports with Courtney coming up next.
WCBI Sports with Courtney Robb is brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Go further.
Well, the weather is not doing us any favors this Friday, but regardless, Mississippi State and Ole Miss determined to get some action in on the diamond. WCBI Sports' Tom Ebel joins us live from Swayze Field. What's it look like out there, Tom?
Courtney, usually they say no news is good news, but in this case, it's still bad news. It's raining. It's still been raining here in Oxford for probably the past 3 hours or so. The tarp is still on the field. Of course, if you missed our update at 5 o'clock, the game, which was originally supposed to start at 6:30, has been moved back to 7:30. So we'll see if we actually get baseball here in Oxford or if Mother Nature will take yet another W for the weekend. It'll be a shame if we miss this one. It could get possibly moved back to tomorrow with a doubleheader, but the forecast really doesn't favor tomorrow as well. It'd be a shame because we'd be missing out on ace versus ace. Ethan Small taking on Will Etheridge in game one. Ethan Small's been pitching like video game numbers to this point, so it'd be a great matchup between a very good Ole Miss offense versus Ethan Small, who's been pitching out of his mind of late. And for Ole Miss, it's been really all about trying to get the bragging rights back. Mississippi State has won 9 out of the last 10 games in this rivalry, 4 straight Governor's Cup games. So Ole Miss, they're home at Swayze. Last time we were here, Mississippi State swept the Rebels for the first time in more than a decade. So Ole Miss hoping to get a game in, trying to get the mojo back in this series. We'll keep you updated to see if this game does happen tonight. But for now, reporting at Swayze Field, Tom Ebel for WCBI Sports. Courtney will send it back to you in Columbus.
Thanks, Tom. We'll be crossing our fingers. Weather willing, we'll have those highlights for you from Oxford tonight on WCBI News at 10. But the only game played so far today was not one in the state of Mississippi. Ole Miss matching up with Kentucky in College Station for the SEC softball tournament quarterfinals. Kentucky with a hot start in the first inning of the game to take a 2-0 lead. The Wildcats with a 6-run inning in the third to pull ahead 8-0. Eventually, the game between the Cats and the Rebels would be run-ruled in the 5th. And Ole Miss falls to Kentucky 8-zip. The Rebels finish with a 13-10 SEC record. We'll have those highlights from the game on WCBI News at 10 as well. The quest for a softball title will have to wait a few more days due to these unfortunate weather conditions for the remainder of the weekend. No fast-pitch softball championships will actually continue play in either Starkville nor Hattiesburg on Monday afternoon. Over in Hattiesburg, Smithville and Vardaman will play at 1:30 p.m. in 3A. South Pontotoc and Choctaw Central will play at 5. Neshoba Central and Wayne County following at 6:30. Game action at Southern Miss resumes at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. And in Starkville, Tishomingo County and Newton will play Monday at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon. The North Half Finals for high school baseball, plenty of changes to Friday's schedule as well. Mostly postponed games. Lafayette at Saltillo postponed to Saturday. New Hope at Pontotoc postponed to Saturday. Stringer at Hamilton. Smithville at West Union. You get the picture. That Smithville at West Union game has been made a doubleheader already. At Corinth, actually, probably due to field conditions, that starts at 11 a.m. And then North Pontotoc at Boonville is postponed to Saturday as well. That game will be happening at 3 p.m. And Mother Nature has clearly spoken. She does not want anyone to be playing baseball or softball this afternoon. That's it for sports. Your last look at your weather is next. Stick with us.
Well, we're currently seeing some showers out there on radar, but the good news is they are starting to lift to the northeast. But the bad news is we have more rain in store. It looks to be rainy for your weekend for Mother's Day. But the good news is we will dry out and have a pretty pleasant Monday and Tuesday.
Looking for it. We'll need it to dry out. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier. It's not going to be a constant rain all day, but most of the day we'll see showers on Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, correct. Drying out Sunday afternoon.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.